Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We Are All Psychic, and today we have Thameka here. Hey, Thameka.
Hi.
She says hi, and I think I did it.
I don't know why I sang it like that. I just do that.
I love it. I wanted to do it. It was so much fun sounding. And Thameka, right away, I have a question for you. Do you think we're all psychic?
So I think that is such an interesting question. And I have thought about it. And I also asked a few people. So I don't know if that's cheating or not. But
No,
I
wonderful.
think we are all intuitive.
Yes.
And I believe that in order to be psychic, right, you have to be deeply intuitive as well. Right. And so how people's intuitive slash psychic gifts manifest is different for everyone. But I would say that taking all of that together, I would say, yes, we're all psychic intuitive, right?
I love that. Yes. And I've said this many times on the podcast, but for me, psychic is just a catchy phrase, man. It's like, we're all psychic. I wouldn't listen. I don't know. I don't think I'd listen to a podcast called we're all spiritual beings. I think I would like it. I would get into it, but it wouldn't catch me, And
Yeah.
I love that like psychic it's like, I kind of think of it all as energy work. Like you said, you look at it as intuition. And I feel like there's energy working, flowing. I feel like it's a thing. It's a tangible thing, whatever it may be. But we can feel it when we talk to each other, when we read clients. I don't know what happens. Amazing thing. And listeners and watchers, she is a reader. Of course she is. So where did you get that answer? How did you get there? I mean, what happened to like make you think that way? That everybody has it.
Well, it's interesting because, I feel like the spiritual journey is it makes sense in hindsight, right?
Yeah.
So part of me wonders if, like, from a very early age, I kind of intuitively myself kind of felt that, right?
Yeah.
That we all kind of have an inner knowing, but whether or not
when you're little, because you don't have language, right?
you don't have language for it. Yeah. But I do think, that when we're younger, we're sort of actually more attuned or tapped in
Yeah.
to the 5D, if you will.
Most
Right.
people say that on the podcast. Yeah.
Happens in getting older, that many people actually sort of detach from that and start to question their own kind of inner knowing. Right. I'll give you a really good example. I had a client come to me and, we're talking, and at the tail end of the conversation, they go, "Hey, I want to run something by you." I go, "Yeah." And they're like, "So I had this dream." Right. And I won't say the contents of the dream, but basically, lo and behold, they have prophetic dreams. And they were like, "So do you think that means anything?" And I was like, "Do I think that means anything?"
I love
what do you think?
Do you know why I love that story so much? I think everybody's being psychic right now. Whatever they're doing it already. I really believe that somebody is doing their intuitive thing somewhere, everywhere, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or today you have done your intuitive stuff. You're doing it. Your intuition is working. You may not be listening to it. You may not be paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the question. Are you paying attention?
Right? And it's interesting, even if I'm paying, and I try to pay attention a lot, but I miss stuff all the time. I take it so literally, it could be hitting me right in the face what this is. And I just will not see it, the omen or whatever, because I've had this experience with hawks for several years now, since I left my second husband. And I've seen hawks for years now, and it's specifically weird circumstances. For example, one time I was driving from Nashville back to Alabama, and I had this. It wasn't buzzards. These were not buzzards or vultures. These were hawks, really big black hawks, flying all around in the road. I had to slow down, and there had to be about 40 of them. And I knew one of them kept coming back around because he had like feathers missing on his wings. On one wing, like two, and one very particular weird pattern. On the other wing, like one or two or three. So it was like very obvious pattern. And he flew by my car, and then his shadow passed before my car when I had to slow down. And then he went right up next to me and looked me in the eye, and that was just a really intense one. Another time I went to a hotel in Nashville. I always saw them. There's a lot of them in this area on the road. But I was in the hotel room. I'd counted something like 40 million hawks on the way up there. Some of them might have been vultures, but they're always hawks. And I was looking out the window, and there's a freaking bald eagle flew by right after I counted 40,000 hawks that trip. And then, it's been going on for me, so I don't know what this omen means. And then just recently, last week, a hawk I guess, I don't know if the cat did this or if the hawk got damaged, but the hawk was upside down on his back, and he was looking at us as we came out, and the cat was sniffing. We put the cat inside, and my boyfriend and I got really close to him, and this big orange eye. I've never been that close to a hawk, of course, I mean, ever. And we kind of wondered what we were going to do with it, and it hopped up and fluttered and kind of hopped away, and it was holding its wing out, and then it was called the like animal shelter kind of, or water, or wildlife refuge kind of thing. And I asked them for advice, and they taught me how to catch it. By the time I went out there to catch him, he had gone. So I'm thinking his shoulder might have been dislocated or something. That's what I'm hoping anyway, but I never saw him again. But he was but these things with the hawks are really like, there's even more that are very strange. For me, this just keeps happening. So I just don't know what it is. And it's such an obvious message, right?
Yeah. Do you have is there anything that immediately comes to mind when you...
I thought for a while it was men. Because the first few times I started seeing hawks, I was really hungry. I wanted to eat the hawk. But see, I think of hawks as also kind of like, I never think of them as, I think of them as killing the sick and weak animals. Not the healthy fat ones necessarily, unless they're
they're opportunistic predators or something like that.
Or more like they want the healthy ones to thrive. They're kind of like they're thinning out the ones that aren't going to make it.
They're doing nature's work.
They are, yes, they are nature's work. Yeah, literally. It's something like that. It's kind of stuff I think about with them, and I always thought hawks were cool. Had nothing with them. I never did, or hawk. I never got, I got excited when I saw them, but just that was what I associated it with. It's possibly love and men, but I don't know how in that situation, because the way they stare at me, it reminds me of how men I dated, and confrontational or not. That's just a way of staring, but they have wisdom, and it's really weird when they stare. That one, I'll send you the picture in an email of that hawk. It's really weird.
Yeah. I also have a couple of spirit animal decks, and I'm wondering I don't know. I don't remember.
Are they right there?
Yes.
I'll let you dig it up while I keep running my mouth.
Yeah.
Have you had any spirit animal experiences?
Yes.
You have 2 decks. I'm figuring you love some animals.
Well, I sort of I get messages that certain animals are associated with certain ancestors of mine. Okay, so I'll just give you one example, but one of my grandmothers is associated with butterflies.
Okay.
Right. Anytime I need it, right, that I need that sort of extra boost, that extra support, that, hey, I'm here, I'm in your corner, even though I'm not here,
Yeah.
I see butterflies.
Yeah.
So that's just one example. And this particular deck, which is called the Spirit Animal Oracle by Colette Baron Reed.
I've seen it, but I've never used it.
One with some of my clients. It's a little bit longer, like the description. So,
okay.
It's not one that I use for like on the fly kind of readings. They're usually for more in-depth readings.
And listeners and watchers, this is a video podcast on Spotify, but we sometimes if you're new in this podcast, you just happen to pop in on, we're going to look at these oracle cards. This is what oracle cards are for, to kind of give you insight and, advice about stuff like you noticing these ones. Go get some oracle cards about numbers. Are you noticing animals? Go get some oracle cards about animals, right? And they help you. This is like, I'm really excited to see what your books have for it,
I love oracle cards. There's so many decks, as you know, that you can work with, but one of the things I love about oracles is that how accessible they are, right? You don't have to, you can just jump right in, right? You
Absolutely.
Select a deck that speaks to you. You don't have to learn meanings or anything like that. Not that you need that, right?
The intuition is just ripe for the oracle.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And you can do full spreads with just oracles.
Yes.
There's sometimes
Misty, my co-host, does. Yeah.
Yes. And they hit so hard, right? So there is a hawk spirit card here. Let me find the page. Should we read for it?
Yeah. What page number is it? I'm curious. Okay. Or does it have a card number or anything? I always like numbers.
It's number 32, which breaks down to a 5. I'll show you. I'm going to find the card, but this is just it in the book.
Okay. I see him. All right. Thank you. That's what the hawk looked like outside. Except had. It wasn't black and white.
No, I'm going to find the card. And it says here, let spirit be your guide.
Well,
So,
when I left my second husband, I kind of like went all like took control of my life, and made boundaries with a lot of people and things and all kinds of stuff for years. So that just
mhm.
kind of popped in my head when you said that.
Yeah. And you started walking hand in hand with spirit, maybe more.
Or
Yeah.
my own power, I guess you could say, or my innate like ability to take care of myself. I have it.
Yeah.
I need help, but I
Yeah.
also can take care of myself and make decisions for myself.
Yeah. Okay. So there's actually two parts to the message, but I'm going to read just one. I can send you the other one.
Okay.
So it says, flying high above the landscape, the hawk sees both the big picture and the small details, observes the rain and the pond, as well as the cloud, and doesn't miss anything. When hawk spirit arrives, you are called to pay close attention to messages from spirit that can appear anywhere in any form. Listen to your intuition and keep your eyes open for synchronicities, the
That's
meaning of
hilarious.
coincidences.
It's literally look for omens, lady. You're seeing hawks, you got to see more omens. I said it's like slapping me right in the face, and that was.
Isn't that too on point? Isn't that too on point? And it says here, hawk spirit asks you not to dismiss the signs that spirit is sending to guide you. Lately, have you been hearing the same word or song or coming across the same symbol here, there, and in the strangest places? Perhaps you hear a song on the radio with just the right lyric pertaining to your query. Or you begin to notice uncanny billboards, license plates, or other places where repetitive numbers or words show up for you. Pay attention to the animals that appear and connect with their symbolism. Spirit wants to communicate and reaches out again and again. When hawk spirit appears, it is a sign to listen.
Thank you.
I love that.
Now I'm going to just start talking. I can't talk the rest of the podcast.
No, you're so good.
That is, I do. That's so true. I do have a heart. Actually, we had a human design podcast. We had a couple of them intro to it, and all my throat was activated. If you know anything about, I don't know much about human design, just a little bit. But he said you cannot. The guy on the get Seth, the guest, he said you cannot help but respond vocally, and I was like, yes. I was trying so hard not to say anything. I was like, I can do it, but I couldn't. It was funny. But yes, and that's one thing that I can do out in nature is clear my head out. I can stop running the racing thoughts and stuff. Outside, it just feels like it airs out. It literally feels like it blows out my head. Kind of blows through your energy. The wind always feels like it does, especially like near a storm. Stuff like that. So I start looking more for omens, obviously. So what about you? Has anything been coming up for you lately, like in synchronicity with this conversation?
Gosh, a lot actually. I think, first of all, just with all of the changes that we're having astrologically speaking, right?
Yeah.
There's like this very palpable tension I've been feeling between the new, right? Sort of like a new, for lack of a better phrase, world order, and how that's going to be incorporated personally, right? Like what that looks like for me.
Yeah.
Simultaneously feeling like I'm closing out like many, 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 many years, if not lifetimes worth of karmic lessons.
Why are we all going through that right now? Everybody, it seems like, is.
I think everyone is to an extent because like the collective
we can talk about
shift is so major and palpable.
We can reach each other and then communicate in the universe, world, earth, and in the spiritual, and work with each other that way is different.
Yes. And part of it, I think, is like, at least part of what's been communicated to me and also has been part of the collective message I've been sharing with my clients is the reason why we're all going through that is because it's really, it behooves us to really become who we're meant to be without apology, right? Post haste.
First.
Not to suggest that there's like a sense of, urgency or anything like that, but almost like the time is now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We've been in rehearsal. We've been in practice, right? How practice for a sport or you play an instrument, and then you have game day, and then you have the recital day. It's like the game day or the recital day, not that there will be just one, is swiftly approaching.
Okay.
Right. That's sort of the analogy that I'm getting anyway, right?
Okay. Yeah. So you're feeling like there's a big shift coming in general for everybody, or just the people who are already shifting? Because there's people everyone I know who's into energy work is feeling these huge shifts.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for people who are already on the path, so to speak, there's almost like a heightening or like a quickening, like almost like their gifts are changing, kind of for some people on like an exponential level. Like,
yeah, and people are telling me that too. Like
changing.
people my clients, a lot of them are working with psychics or witches or whatever, and my friends who are coworkers, like you on everything. I met some through the podcast, and we become friends. And they're all like, "What is happening?" Yes. We were all like, "What is happening?"
Yes, and I think a lot of people are also coming online.
Yeah.
Right. Older people, as well as like we know that like for younger people right now, right? These are the crystal and star seed children.
Yeah.
Right. So they're needing us who are maybe a little bit older, right, to sort of lay a solid foundation and
if they let us. We got to beat our way in there.
Many steps, yes. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, that's what I feel like is going on. And therefore, why we're all sort of
cool. Yeah. So you feel, is that coming up for you a lot? Like that awareness and like, yeah, that's cool. 100%. I've been thinking about that. I don't really get much of a global awareness kind of feeling. And I was just thinking about that. It might be just something I've always never tried. I've never like felt an earthquake coming or anything like that, or sensed a tragedy coming globally. But I know some people do very often. I mean, have you ever had any experiences like that where you felt like something like that was about to happen and it did?
Like a major event? I can't say that I have. At least not anything like along the lines of a tragedy. That's not really information that I get, period. So
me neither. Yeah. That's what some people do though, I get very
some people do. Yeah, some people do. It's been explained to me by my guides. Like I don't even really get information about things like death, right?
I don't either.
So it's been explained to me that, because it's out of our control, basically, right? Yeah. That there really is no utility and so my guides just don't share that information.
Yeah.
So I don't have access to it. That being said, I do think
I don't either.
I will say this, and again, it's kind of like one of those hindsight being 2020 again, right? Remember in the lead up to like let's say mid to late 2019.
Oh yeah.
Right? I remember all of my readings having this really strange element. I'm like, what's happening?
Oh, I was telling some trippy on Christmas, on New Year's Eve. I had the trippiest reading about the end of everything as we knew it. And I'm like, what the heck is this about? I had no idea. And I think I did it with my son, Terry, my stepson, Terry. And I was like, have you ever heard me talk like this? I was like, I don't know what's going on, like weird.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out what it was though. I didn't think of the war. It didn't occur. But of course, if the earth is warming, then we're going to have viruses blooming, blooming, coming back to life. They're dormant forever. They can stay alive for freaking millions and billions of years underground and then come back to life, and then mutate like they do, like they have and do. So it's interesting. I think, like when you were a kid, did you have psychic experiences when you were a kid? Because I didn't have too many, but you seem like you have always had it going on.
Well, I think so. Let me contextualize that a little bit from earlier. I wasn't really aware of what was happening, right? So one experience that I had, was that I saw my grandfather right before he passed away. I was quite young, okay? Yeah. But I know that I saw him. But he didn't live where we lived,
so you didn't know he was dead yet? Is that what happened? Or?
I didn't know. I found out subsequently. Yeah. Wow. So, and it's only later on learning about things like mediumship that I understand what that experience really was. So to our point kind of from earlier, right? I had access to these kinds of things, but I wasn't really, I wasn't in a space where I was able to use them,
Yeah, me
with any
neither.
great sort of significance, right? Or in a
To someone
meaningful.
else anyway. For me, it helped like understanding myself. It took a year to understand this, but it'll help this person 10 years. It kind of works for me like that anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. In terms of when the information resonates. So yeah.
Yeah.
And, as a child, I would sort of like I would kind of just know things, but I didn't know how I knew them.
Yeah, like
And people would be
telepathy
like,
or
"How did you know that?" And I would
understanding
be like,
or
"Oh, I'm psychic," but more of like I was just sort of off the cuff saying that,
when
But I
did you
think there
accept
was.
it? Did you have a moment where you're like, okay, I really am psychic? Did you have that moment?
Actually took me quite a while, astrologically speaking, it was like around my Saturn return,
Me too. Me too.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's when I
which I
stopped
don't think
working
is
out in the world.
unusual. Um,
You're right.
Many years passed between, that first experience that I can recall quite vividly and actually tapping into this work and kind of taking it seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It took a long time for me to think of this work as spiritual work. I thought of it as skills, but I wasn't sure about a creator either. Was there a creator? Are there creators? What's up with that? I don't know. I just thought I was very agnostic as far as what I believe in. But it's changing. I do. I like. I think there's reincarnation. I think we are here to learn whatever our soul wants to evolve into. And other than that, I don't know. I don't know a dang thing. But I really love to think about this stuff. I love to explore all the mysteries. And I wasn't like a psychic child. Like, I didn't. At least I don't think I was. I don't know. I was alone most of the time, just playing with
mm,
out in the woods or with my cat or with my toys. I had a big imagination. And I didn't really fit in with most kids, but I didn't care. But I had like one or two good friends who'd follow me around on the adventures, in the woods. But Diane Harmon, if you ever see this, peace. um, she was my little girlfriend that we had the best times together,
aw.
and she actually contacted me here and there over the years. And that's been cool. She tracked me down because I have a weird last name.
You're easy to find.
Yeah. So why this just popped into my head. Speaking of friends, everyone I've talked to who works in the field has had a difficult time keeping close friends.
Hmm.
Not all their lives. They have a few that they had all their lives, but
Hmm.
for close female friends, females mainly who are in the field, have a hard time making friends with other females.
Hmm.
You notice that?
Well, I guess I haven't given it that much thought. Um, I guess that probably is an accurate assessment. I'm trying to think, like, I don't really know that many other women in real life.
I guess it's
Yeah.
just from doing this podcast and listening to the stories I'm hearing
Yeah,
over the last
that
six
makes
years.
sense. That
Yeah.
said, I mean, I consider myself very blessed and very lucky. Like, I do have a really tight, close set of friends. Some
Yes.
of
Yeah.
them are spiritual practitioners, like my best
Yeah.
friend in the whole world, but he's a guy. And he's like my brother. Like, we grew up together. He's an
Yeah.
astrologist, a numerologist, and also
Oh, you're so lucky. You and your brother have that in common. That's cool.
so, and we're really so like that is kind of like my spiritual support, like someone who I can
Oh,
to
see,
kind
I
of.
don't really feel like I've ever had any except like
Mhm,
when I've been
mhm,
doing this podcast, I've gotten a lot
mhm.
of lessons from every guest, telling me something they learned. And
Yeah.
like I said, made some friends through it, and they tell me what they're going through. I'm like, what's that? And I'll learn about it. If I go through something, sometimes they can explain it, like you just did with the hawk. I mean,
Mhm.
that was just such like, oh my gosh, of course that's what it's saying. Pay more attention to your crowding. There's all these messages.
But yeah, I do think that is, I do think that this line of work, and it's something that I sort of interrogate and ask myself a lot, for some reason breeds a lot of competition. I don't know where that comes from,
I don't
you
either.
know.
Sometimes it does.
No, but that's what I sense. That's why I think that there's maybe less IRL community, right? Like in real life
It's a
community.
shame, isn't it?
It
Because
is, really
we
is.
all could really help each other out. Because if we all knew each other's specialties, we could get cite each other the clients who would most be helped by each other. Different people.
I have to say that's one of the things that appealed to me on Everclear is their
You can do
forum. I
that.
think
Yeah.
that's a great, I just liked perusing it and seeing
I
people's
love the
feedback and
forum.
advice and that kind of stuff. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Um, I think in my limited experience, because I tend to be a little bit more of a loner, like a lone wolf.
Yeah.
um,
I used to be.
but
Yeah.
do you remember something called Clubhouse? This was also sort of akin with like COVID starting.
No.
Anyway, okay, it was like it's an app where people talk basically. So it's like
Okay.
a chat room,
Oh,
but
is it like the wisdom app kind of?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard of that.
Okay.
But it's voice. It's not
That's what
text.
this was. It was voice. It's
Okay,
social
okay,
media for voice. Yeah.
gotcha. So there was a big Black spiritual community on there, and at one point it was really nice. They would congregate once a day. There would be different topics. They'd talk about Monday, Moon Day, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, long story short, it ended up, I mean, Clubhouse ended up kind of going kaput anyway. It still exists, but not as popular. But
Yeah.
that particular group had issues because I guess behind the scenes, someone was like doing magic. So it's almost like one bad apple spoils the bunch,
It
you
always
know?
is. And I've seen it when business is involved,
Mhm,
especially
mhm,
physical location businesses. If they're anywhere
yeah,
near each other, it cannot always, there can be a lot of
yeah,
tensions between the owners and they can't ever even spoken to each other sometimes.
yeah,
They just hear rumors and get all right.
right.
I think it's
Right.
funny. That's why I don't work well with other people. I'm not competitive. Like, I don't get climb that ladder,
Yeah,
and
it doesn't make sense.
not that, not,
Comparison's the thief of joy, as they say. It really is. I'm not in competition with anyone but myself. So,
yeah. And I feel like exactly. And I feel like, we can just wait until the clients that are right for us to help come to ask our guides, please send me people that can help,
and
and
that's really all that I want. Why would I want people to come to me who I
that
can't
I can't
help?
do anything for. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not going to be cool for either of
exercising.
us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Exactly. Some
supposed to be
exercise
good.
and
It's supposed to be
flexibility.
great.
But yeah, I think that's part of it, which as you said, is such a shame that there isn't more of a robust kind of sense of community.
Yeah,
But
I think we could
you
bring people together on that. Like, I don't know. This is probably one. This will be your advice to think about question. But while before you do that, I wanted to let you guys know. She said Everclear a minute ago. If you just happen to be new here, Everclear.com. Everclear is our blah, 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 sponsor. It is an advice app and website, Everclear.com, where you can get advice from psychics and empaths to get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And we are both on Everclear as advisors. I am Lisa P, Leesap, and you are
I
Tika.
am Tika T, Tekat.
Tika T. I think that's good. And you are on TikTok under
The Tarot T.
T. Okay. And where else can people find you? And you're, I'll put all this in the description, listeners and watchers too. Where else can
Sure.
people find you?
Instagram also under the Tarot T, and that's the Tarot and then T like you drink, TEA. And also Instagram under Thameka Nicole. That's THAMEKA_Nicole. And you can also find me on my website, thameka.com, THAMEKA.com.
Get her. I will. I did. Look, she's here. Thank you so much, Thameka. And okay, so for that the end of the podcast advice about how we can, I'll try to think of something too, bring all the community together for the better good with each other and realize we're all in the same team here. Really.
I
I
mean, I
think
think
it's
that's the
money
pep
that
talk
gets in
that
the
we
way.
need. Part of me, it's an interesting sort of conundrum because as we talked about earlier, like I am a writer. So I think of, and I write sometimes like opinion, but like politically.
Oh, really? Cool. That's awesome. I'm a writer.
So partially, I think it is this whole idea of scarcity, right? And
Yeah.
when there is the false aspect of scarcity, right, it creates unnecessary competition
False. And
and
people
sort
are
of
just
that,
breeding that mentality. False.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what I think the underlying part of it actually is that, and I think as we start to see the shift happening, in the global collective,
Yeah.
uh, maybe that sense of scarcity will dissipate because
Oh,
I think more and more people will sort of be pursuing, spiritually aligned services, if you will,
I think
right?
so too. I feel like holistic services in health will happen more prevalently. They'll have to in the healthcare system because our health insurance isn't working. That our healthcare is leaning towards holistic services. It's not working with treating all the symptoms.
Hmm.
Treating the whole body is like kind of where it's going to work because what we're finding out is everything's connected. Everything's like we got brain cells in our guts and all this good stuff. We've talked about this stuff. Like everything's everywhere in our body. And they got
It's
treat
true.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah. The
I love
mind
that
body
advice.
spirit connection.
I think
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I'll give people homework, and I'll do this homework too. Every day, go to your favorite social media site, maybe once a week if you can't do it every day. Once a week, go to your favorite social media outlet for entertainment or whatever, and look up a new reader of some sort, advisor or coach or tarot. Like go to hashtag. I think they're getting rid of those, but anyway, hashtag tarot readings or however you find them, and just try to find one that really resonates with you and start following that person. Just follow them,
Yes.
see what you learn from them, and then do it again whenever you like it. It's fun, but really, like, be selective. Find someone who really speaks to you, and then
Yeah.
maybe strike up a conversation. That
Love
really,
that.
it's hard to do, and to say something to a stranger or like that really affected me. But it really makes a reader feel great. They don't know what to say to that. They're like, oh, more reading. What do I do now? If they're
Yeah. No, you
starting
have to
out
be
and kind
super
of trying to reach out there and get some attention and get some clients and stuff.
Yeah. I love that. I do peruse like YouTube sometimes,
Yeah.
but and there was a time, very early on where I watched probably way too many of those things. And now it's a lot more like, I'll try out new people, but I give it, if it's not resonating in the first few minutes, I kind of click out because I try to only watch like readings that really speak to me for some reason.
Do you like the pick a cards?
I don't do those so much. So I don't know. I won't name like any specific readers. I mean, I guess I could, but one reader I like does like a stalkers reading, and it's not really stalkers, but it's like people who are paying a little bit too much attention to you. And like for some reason, that one always hits, always
I
resonates.
love that. That's hilarious.
There's another reader I follow who does like a weekly reading. I really like those, right? So it looks at every day of the week.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love
So.
that stuff. Yeah, we have a regular guest who works on Everclear named Miriam,
Mhm.
and she does a pick a card on YouTube. Every time I pick that card, I swear it is meant for me. I don't know, the timeless types. You don't know what you're getting with these readings. This person might have recorded this 7 months ago or 7 years ago. It's really
Mhm.
magic how that happens. It just will work.
Mhm.
It's your intuition. Pick that pile.
Yes.
And if it
Yeah.
doesn't work, you say, well, I kind of was pulled to that other one. I'll go look at that one. And it is that one.
Yep. You're
When trick
exactly
you,
right.
and then a hawk comes and crashes in your window and says, look at the omens, you knew it was the second pile.
Pay
It
attention to the signs.
was 2 o'clock, man. There were 2 cars outside, there were 2 birds in that tree, there were 2 cats on the floor. Two.
You know what? I mean, it's interesting. Because I do dream interpretation. So I was just listening, and now that when I just said pay attention to the signs, I'm like, gosh, is there something about the fact that you were seeing all these hawks on like a literal road, like while you were driving a vehicle?
65, always on 65. But
Interesting.
other places, not so much. I mean, some other places.
Mhm,
Most of them are
mhm.
on Highway I-65,
Okay. Okay.
going north or south between Nashville and Decatur. Yeah, Alabama.
Maybe that's some kind of like crossroads or something.
I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of all kinds of activity in the sky of big birds. It's
Mm,
beautiful too. It's the mountains as you're going
mm,
up, and,
mm.
and of course there's a road, and they like roadkill. The lovely world of roadkill. Anyway, on that note, those animals are in heaven, and they are probably very glad they're not freezing because it's freezing everywhere right now.
No, I hate it.
Yeah, I hate the cycle of life. I have a problem with the cycle of life. The life and death. I know it's okay. I feel like it. I don't know. But I feel I'm a medium. They talk to me, and other people have validated it. But I still just like hate the cycle of life. Sometimes that we have to do. We don't have to, eat the chickens, but gotta have protein, and I don't have enough money to do it the healthy way, the correct way, and just like and not even humans, take the humans out of the equation. I love my house cats, but they can like go, tear a chipmunk up. Not no when I had cats that went in and out, now they're just house cats.
Mm-hmm.
But they're predators, and it still shocked me when they did stuff like that. Like, it's just strange, but that's the cycle of life. And I've always had kind of this weird don't like it thing, it's not a weird thing, but it's a real heavy don't like it. But I guess I'll be okay about it. Maybe that's why they made me a medium, so I wouldn't be as bitter about it.
Well, I mean, I think that's part, right? Like part of life is like the will to survive, right?
Yes.
Like every animal has that.
Everyone, yes.
Right, of wanting to survive or even like memorialize your legacy, right? Like,
yeah, that's a lot of people have that. I don't want to be forgotten. Yes,
exactly. But I think that nature is such a good teacher, and I can really empathize with what you're saying, because even now, sometimes, right, when I think about my own mortality or those of people that I love, like I'm like, oh, don't think about that, But when I look at nature and like just the natural cycle of things, right, that every has a beginning, middle, and an end, a natural end, right? It's such a great teacher in teaching us about detachment, right? Because I think part of that angst that we feel is that attachment that we might have, right? Of how can I let go, or how can I learn to live with the loss of whatever,
except
right?
what's happening with the Serenity Prayer. If you know that one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love
the Serenity.
God grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change.
The courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes, I mean, and that's really what it is, right? Because, accepting loss, right? Accepting, and I think coming out of Scorpio season, this Scorpio season seems to always beat this lesson over the head of like. No, really, right?
Yeah,
that like it's almost like you can't recognize the light without the dark, right?
Yeah.
You can't recognize life without death.
Right.
So
there isn't one without the other.
Right. Exactly.
I just hope there's another reality somewhere where that doesn't happen. And I think that's where we go after we die, maybe. That's where we always exist, maybe. I kind of think there's a place that our souls exist, a thing. It's not a place. Maybe it is. I don't know. I can't conceptualize of it. I mean, I could, but it's probably not right. But I feel like there's a place we're all from, if you're going to call it a place, and I think it's eternal. I think, like, energy can't, people have said this on the podcast, play it all the time. You can't destroy energy, so it has to go on. And I think consciousnesses are energetic, that's out of the root.
Yeah. I mean, when, I agree with you that I think you said earlier you believe in reincarnation, and as do I. So, I mean, where exactly we go, who knows? But I do believe, that that when we leave the physical body, right, we go somewhere.
Yes, I do too.
Either decide to come back in another physical body or not, right?
Yeah, I think it's our decision in the end, ultimately. I think we may decide to. Someone might talk us into it. However, spirits do that when they're dead. And with that, listeners and watchers, leave a comment on how you think they do that. And come look for Thameka. Come look for me. And come watch more podcasts and listeners. And Thameka, would you like to say goodbye to the listeners and watchers?
Yeah, this was so fun. Thank y'all so much.
Blast, man. Thank you
for letting me wax poetic for a few. And thank you.
I poetically waxed. There's no poetically waxing your legs. I don't think there is. Anyway, you did that beautifully. You're just a wonderful guest, and you speak so eloquently. And you have such a big heart. Like, I can feel my heart just being all full and warm, and you just got a great heart. I love it. You had a reading from her. And I highly advise her services, because she just makes me smile. And she's got very strong, good healing energy from my
Thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners and watchers. I love you. Misty loves you wherever she may be. And you love the listeners, don't you?
Yes, I do. Every day.
Love listeners. Peace out, everybody. See you later. Bye.
Bye.